afternoon, everyone. And I hope you enjoy lunch and playing some of the trivia games focusing on Cornell women. And we're going to start the formal program now. Alice Lee, the Executive Director for Center for Technology Licensing.
I'm Lisa Placanica, Senior Managing Director for CTL here at Weill Cornell, part of Weill Cornell Medicine Enterprise Innovation.
We're very excited to welcome you to the Inaugural Women Innovator Awards. Thank you all for coming. And this is a ceremony that concurrently held at the Statler Hotel in Ithaca, at the Griffith Faculty Club, at Weill Cornell Medicine, and also for people online. So it's also a day of celebration under one Cornell, and together we will make difference in innovation.
In the audience today, we have inventors who have successfully engaged in commercialization and new ventures, researchers who are interested in innovation and entrepreneurship, alumni and community supporters of Cornell Innovation, and leadership of the university, colleges, and schools. In the posters we have displayed, you have seen just some of Cornell women inventors and their inventions that have made it to the marketplace or show the promise of future products and commercial success.
This is an inaugural event. Obviously, it's something new. I want to spend maybe a few minutes to share a short story just happened a few years ago. At the time, we were trying to organize an event for a partnership forum. After team working very hard to secure speakers from the industry, we announced the event on campus. And we were very happy about it. But shortly after, I received a very unhappy email from a faculty member. And she shared with me her concerns, the small number of female speakers in the event, and her dilemma whether to promote that to her students. So although we tried very hard to get women speakers, but it was a wake-up call for us how to move forward to address this issue and make changes.
Nationally, efforts to increase inclusion and participation of women and other underrepresented groups in innovation and entrepreneurship is an increasingly important focus. Various initiatives to promote women's participation and leadership in innovation, new venture formation, and investment have been introduced recently in many places, including right here at Cornell, such as the Women's Innovator Initiative launched by CTL and the Women's Founder Initiative run by the BioVenture eLab, part of Weill Cornell Medicine Enterprise Innovation.
Last year, we were the fortunate receiver of a grant from President Council for Cornell Women. This grant helped us to initiate designing and launching the Women Innovator Award. Through this launch of the program, we got tremendous support from trustees and alums and faculty and students. So with this program and some other program you hear Lisa mentioned earlier, our hope is that to engage, empower, and grow women faculty, graduate students, research staffs for innovation and entrepreneurial leadership. We're very grateful that these initiatives received the support from Cornell leadership at the highest level and degree. And today, in this inaugural celebration event, it's our honor to have the provost to deliver the opening remarks. Please welcome the provost of Cornell University, McClintock.
Thanks, everybody. This is a terrific event. Alice, thank you. It's a particular pleasure to kick off the inaugural Women Innovator Awards event. I want to congratulate Alice and Emmanuel for the organization and implementation of this award, which aligns with Cornell's core value of any person, and also celebrates entrepreneurship at the university, something that Emmanuel and Alice have tirelessly promoted. Celebrating women in this context is particularly important, as historically and statistically, women have been far less likely than men to become innovators and entrepreneurs. An important aspect of what we are doing today is highlighting successful women entrepreneurs as role models for future women entrepreneurs. It is a societal imperative. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office reported in 2016 that women inventors accounted for only 12% of all inventors on granted patents. At Stanford, women accounted for only 16% of faculty inventors and only 11% of faculty-founded startup companies. At Cornell, between 2009 and 2017, women accounted for 23% of Cornell inventors. Better than Stanford, but still not good enough for Cornell. Through this event and other programs, we hope to promote a culture that supports women as they seek to find solutions to problems big and small. These events include the Women Entrepreneurs Cornell, WE Cornell program, which helps STEM women commercialize their innovations. The Bank of America Institute for Women's Entrepreneurship at Cornell, which offers a free certificate that offers women the skills and resources they need to build, manage, and scale a successful business. The Schwartz Research Fund for Women and other underrepresented faculty in the life sciences, which provides seed money for significant investment in a pilot experiment that generates novel preliminary data or opens a significant new line of inquiry. The Women Founders Initiative at the BioVenture eLab at Weill Cornell Medicine, and the Women Innovators Initiative established last year by CTL, a Cornell program that aims to engage, empower, and grow women faculty, staff, and graduate students as technology innovators and entrepreneurial leaders. The inaugural Women Innovator Awards are designed to encourage and celebrate women innovators at Cornell who are at different stages of their commercialization journey. The Barbara McClintock Women Innovator Award is established to celebrate Cornell women innovators whose outstanding inventions have made tangible impact on society through commercialization or through new ventures. And the Rising Women Innovator Award is set up to recognize Cornell women inventors whose inventions are at early stages of commercialization and have the promise to change the narrative in their respective fields. I want to thank the President's Council of Cornell Women, which initiated the award program through a grant to the Center for Technology Licensing at Cornell University, and to thank the Barbara McClintock estate for granting permission for the use of the Barbara McClintock's name as to be a part of the Women Innovator Award. Of course, Dr. McClintock's accomplishments serve as an inspiration to Cornell, working to develop groundbreaking research and inventions that challenge the status quo and have a major impact on society. A great model for women innovators. Now, I'll turn the program over to Emmanuel Gianellis, Vice President for Research and Innovation, to introduce the awards and the awardees. Thank you for celebrating this with us today.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you all for joining us today for this inaugural Women Innovator Award celebration. A good thing, Alice, that you didn't make me speak together with John sentence by sentence, because I would have messed that up. No question about it. So I appreciated the opportunity to just do it solo now. Well, if you allow me, I want to start by sharing a story with you. And some of you might remember that when I came to the role, the title of my role was Vice Provost for Research and Vice President for Tech Transfer, Intellectual Property, and Research Policy. And as you can even see from now that I tried to say it all, I had to stop because it was such a long title. And although at the beginning, I thought it was a great portfolio to have, look at all these things that I'll be responsible for. At the end, it became an issue because I couldn't even remember the title myself. Not to mention that I soon recognized that sort of importance is inversely proportional to the length of your title. I mean, there are some titles that really resonate: president, provost, deans. You know, the rest kind of give us these long titles to kind of sort of think that we are important. Anyway, when the provost finally agreed to change the title to vice president for research and innovation, I was very excited, not only because I could now remember my title, at least most of the time, but because it signaled the commitment of Cornell to the innovation space. And as we've always said, this place is great on research, great on scholarship, great on discovery. And somehow we had to find a way to take all these research and discoveries and really channel them so that they become something that can be used in the society, so they can have the impact that we'd normally like to see research having at a great place like Cornell. Of course, sort of saying that, you know, you're committed to innovation, it's only part of the story. We all recognize that, as it was already mentioned, that there are some disparities that exist in this space. So for example, it is similar to saying, well, I'm gonna start a new college in engineering, and you will expect that everybody is gonna be represented the same way. Well, we all know that is not true. Many fields in STEMs and in innovation are actually not represented equally by every group out there. And the provost has actually given exact statistics that I was not prepared to give myself. Thank you, Mike, for that. And so when Alice first approached me, oh, and I should say that what are the issues why, for example, women are not well represented in innovation? Well, similar to STEM, one of them is the lack of role models. And so when Alice approached me with the idea of establishing these awards, I was very excited because it gave us an opportunity to really recognize the great innovators and entrepreneurs on campus and actually have basically a narrative that is very different, one that we can use with the younger folks, with our younger colleagues, with the students, and with the staff to actually make that difference. And so the awards were started. Thank you to the council for giving the funding to Alice to make that possible. And certainly, as you'll see, we do have tremendous innovators on campus, and I think recognizing them is certainly something that it's fairly easy to do. So for example, when the call for nominations went out, there were 32 awards that were received across all our campuses. And as you can imagine, it was not a very easy process, and it was not very easy at all to select only the few that would be the inaugural awardees. Now, before I go on and tell you who these people are, I'd like to thank the people who serve on the committee to select the awardees. So these are folks who have a commitment and a long engagement with Cornell. So Peggy Koenig, co-vice chair of the board of trustees, counselor for the Cornell Tech Council, and co-CEO and managing partner of Avery Partners. Becky Robertson, also a trustee. And I should mention in the title of Peggy, chair of the Research and Innovation Committee, because Becky is vice chair of the Research and Innovation Committee, advisory board on biomedical engineering department, and also on the advisory board for the College of Engineering, and co-founder and manager director at Versant Ventures. Jan Rasmussen, actually, Jan and I coincided when I was a junior faculty member in the department. She was just about to graduate, so it was really a pleasure seeing Jan again in a different capacity. So she got all her degrees from my department. Current trustee and former vice president of technology and development at Xerox Corporation. And Pam Marone, past alumni elected trustee, founder, director of Marone Bio Innovations, Inc. And with Alice and Lisa have been the committee to select this. So it is now my duty to sort of move away from my bad jokes and bad stories and now go on with the program, which is basically to announce the 2 Rising Women Innovator Awards before I pass it on to my good friend and partner in crime, John Leonard, who will announce the 3rd award. So the Rising Women Innovator Award aims at recognizing Cornell women innovators who are developing emerging technologies with the promise to change the narrative in their respective fields. The program promotes women's engagement and cultivates rising women leaders in innovation and commercialization. There are 2 awardees in this category this year. The first awardee for the Rising Women Innovator Awards is Grishma, Professor Grishma Gadikota from Civil and Environmental Engineering.
Hi, my name is Grishma Gadikota. I'm a faculty member in the School of Civil and Environmental Engineering at Cornell University. I also have a field appointment in the School of Chemical and Biological Engineering. In my group, we work on developing sustainable solutions in response to a changing climate while continuing to meet our growing energy and resource demands. I discovered my passion for science when I was really in middle school. And I think I was drawn to science for many reasons, both for the fact that there really is a need to address some of our pressing challenges that we face in society now, but also because there's a sense of open-endedness to it, right? I mean, there's this sense of hypothesis posing and being able to develop a set of methodologies, and you never know if the answer is going to be something that you thought it might be. It might be something that's completely different, and that's okay, but it's the truth. So in many ways, I found science to be my version of a truth-finding mission. There's been a century of innovation in fossil fuel science. As humanity, we've progressed in our ability to transport ourselves, do the things that we do, largely because of that. But now when we look back at the impacts, we have to deal with the challenges with legacy emissions. But we put gigatons of CO2 into the atmosphere, and about 20 to 30% of that actually ends up in the ocean. So there's this new emerging need, really, to understand how carbon transforms in nature and how we can harness that understanding to create solutions that are synergistic with nature. So a lot of work that we do in my research group is really inspired by nature. We call it geo-inspired or earth-inspired, and there is a reason for it. As opposed to just cooking up completely synthetic solutions, we want to look at nature. We want to look to see how nature transforms certain elements, particularly carbon. And now we want to think about what we can do to accelerate those pathways. So one specific example is that of carbon mineralization, right? It's a pathway that nature takes. So if you have a solution, a lime solution, and if you just leave it outside, hopefully not on a very windy day, because then the water is going to evaporate, but on a reasonably warm day like this, where there's not a lot of wind, you'll see that eventually it's going to mineralize into a solid. It's going to take a long time to do it, but eventually it's going to turn into that. We don't have that kind of geologic time to address the kind of solutions that we need. So we actually work in the lab to identify specifically what pathways we can accelerate to transport or partition that CO2 into the liquid phase and then convert it into a durable solid that now we can sequester. Another angle in our research really involves trying to understand the fate of CO2 in subsurface environments. And the reason for that is there's only so much CO2 that we can actually use and convert to products, but we eventually need to start storing gigatons of CO2 in the subsurface environments. We have no choice. So then the question becomes, how do we monitor that fate of CO2? How is that CO2 going to interact in really small spaces, in tiny environments? Is it going to mineralize? Is it going to stay as a liquid? What are those chemical interactions? And it's not just the chemistry too, right? It's also about if we do form something, what does it mean for the stability of the formation? What does it mean for the mechanics of that environment? So being able to connect across disciplines to address the challenge is something that we're working on very actively. And the process of doing this, we've actually harnessed a lot of new techniques that we never thought would be useful. We started developing methodologies that now can go beyond just the science of carbon transformations and can be applied across other disciplines as well. And one of that is in the context of metal separations. I would say Cornell is a very unique place to do the kind of things that we do, because there's a very specific line of questioning about what is different that we're offering to the world compared to what already exists. And I like that our students and our faculty are always asking that hard question every single day. It's a big motivator. It's challenging, it keeps us on our toes, but it's what we need if we have to work ourselves out of some of the challenges that we have right now.
Congratulations, Grishma. You know, this is a topic that is dear to my heart, so I'm really excited that you won one of the awards today. I think you're supposed to come up here and yes.
There's very little to be said after that video, so I'll try to keep it brief. Really, just a warm thanks to the Cornell community, Linda Nozick in particular, director of CE department, the CE school. Without her, we would not have what we have today in terms of lab facilities, in terms of really innovating during the pandemic and being able to manage what we do in our group. So thank you, Linda. More broadly, I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that Cornell Engineering recognizes that climate, energy, and environment is a priority research direction. And given where the world is headed, the fact that this is recognized is a big deal. There is also the recognition that some of the challenges that we work on are inherently high risk, and Cornell's appetite for high risk research is particularly high, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate that there is a community that supports high risk innovation, particularly when it comes to some of the challenges that we are working with at this point in time. Another component that I'd like to acknowledge is the fact that the area that I work in particular, which is energy, environmental sustainability, and being able to bring climate innovation has a lot of gender disparity in it. So in many ways, what might seem like a small step at Cornell, I hope inspires other schools and inspires the broader community to really open their eyes to this challenge of developing innovative solutions and keeping women engaged, not just in the United States, but also all around the world. So thank you so much. It might seem like a small step within Cornell, but really I hope it serves as a wider inspiration for the kind of innovation that is needed to address some of these climate challenges that we face today. So thank you again.
It's a good thing we play the video because it reminded me that Grishma is also a Kroll sesquicentennial. Oh my God, I said it, fellow. Thank you. Congratulations again. The second awardee for the Rising Women Innovator Awards is Alexa Schmidt, from Dr. Alexa Schmidt is currently a postdoctoral associate in biological and environmental engineering in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. And don't think that my affiliation with engineering had anything to do with this, because BE is kind of engineering too, right? So, but I had nothing to do with the selection. And so it just happened. So first, let's start with watching a video from Dr. Schmidt.
Hi, I'm Alexa Schmidt. I'm a co-founder of Regen. My co-founder Sean Medine and I are both currently working in the Barstow Lab in the Department of Biological and Environmental Engineering here at Cornell. And the technology that we are developing for our company is all about finding rare earth elements in a more sustainable fashion using biology. So when I was a kid, I actually lived in an area with a lot of nature. Open land that I could go explore in. I really had a lot of freedom to go out and do whatever I wanted. My parents let me roam the woods, build tree houses, and in a way I was even inventing then, you know, coming up with new ways to play with what nature was giving us. And I think that's a bit of what I'm doing today. I'm really working with what nature has given us and trying to turn it into a solution, and it's always fun once you're inventing something. My technology uses bacteria to address this problem of trying to have a sustainable and reliable source of rare earth elements. My particular technology is using bacteria to extract rare earth metals and other metals from a variety of sources, solid sources. So anything from crushed up rocks to crushed up cell phone debris and waste. So normally rare earths are extracted using pretty harsh chemicals and high temperatures and pressures, and this can have an enormous impact on the environment. So rare earth elements are critical for lots of sustainable energy infrastructure. They are a big part of windmill turbines. So when you want to talk about creating widespread sustainable energy that would give electricity to the whole world, we really need to think about ways to make this cheaper, sustainable, cleaner. And if we're putting so much energy and creating so much waste in the production of the rare earth elements, then it almost negates the point of the sustainable energy itself. So by coming in with biology, what we can do is create a really clean and much more sustainable system for getting these rare earth elements out that would basically support that idea of clean energy further. So when I first met Buzz, he presented this really, really cool idea. He wanted to use microbes, bacteria or fungi, in order to extract rare earth elements. And actually, to be fair, it wasn't his idea. Some of the best work is coming out of Idaho National Lab in David Reed and Yoshiko Fujita's lab. And they demonstrated a really nice example of what we call bioleaching, which is biologically leaching rare earth elements from a variety of recycled and waste substrates using a bacteria called Gluconobacter oxidans. This is kind of my special bug of choice, and with their support and help, what we've done here in the lab, and this is actually where Buzz's idea comes in, is that we've used genetics to better understand and explore exactly what allows Gluconobacter oxidans to be able to extract rare earths. And in doing this, we've identified some critical ways that we could modify the process in order to improve its efficiency. Previously, the Idaho lab actually did a techno-economic analysis. Basically looked at, could this make a profit? And there is some margin of profit available according to that analysis. But we came out and said, okay, well, that margin might not be big enough for a company to really want to pick it up. Can we use genetics to figure out how to make it better? And remarkably, it's been an exciting ride for the past 4 years. We got a lot done. We created a whole genome knockout collection. Basically, we were able to make a strain of bacteria that had one of each gene knocked out. And by doing that, we could screen to see what are the genes that are contributing to this process. With that work, we were able to publish the knockout collection and what we found in the genes underlying rare earth bioleaching in Nature Communications about a year ago. And then we identified the ability to use those genes either by getting rid of them or upregulating them in order to improve bioleaching. And that we disclosed to Cornell Tech Licensing and has eventually turned into a patent application. So now it's out there and we can actually use it for real world problems. And it all comes around in the end. I've had so many mentors in this process who have been incredibly supportive, and I know that someday, I hope that someday I will be one of those mentors for other entrepreneurs, innovators, researchers, anybody who needs to understand the process and how to just put one foot in front of another. I see it now as my responsibility to give back to the next generation. And I really hope to be able to support women innovators going forward as well.
This is a perfect example, if I may, of how Cornell Research and Discovery is our channel into a technology invention and eventually into a startup. Bob, I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything about that, but there might be a possibility of this company to be part of one of our incubators. Alexa is not here today. And so I don't know how that goes. I'll accept on her behalf of something like that. Okay, my neighbor, Andrew Caroli is nodding. But I think we have a video, right?
I am so honored to have been chosen as an inaugural recipient of the Rising Women Innovator Award. My journey as an entrepreneur began only a year ago, yet I feel as though I have been inventing my whole life. I owe an enormous credit to my postdoctoral advisor, Buzz Barstow, who seeded the idea for taking a very special bug, Gluconobacter oxidans, and unlocking its genetic potential for engineering an efficient microbial solution to one of green energy's biggest problems, obtaining critical metals sustainably. 5 years ago, Buzz first presented this crazy idea to me and brought me on to tackle it full force. The process proved to be really a true struggle, and at times we seriously considered major pivots. But only a few years later, including a global pandemic, we had identified the underlying genetic mechanisms for Gluconobacter's ability to solubilize rare earth elements and could begin the engineering process. We disclosed our ideas for the invention to CTL in the beginning of 2021, when we filed a provisional patent, and within the year we engineered a microbe with greatly improved bioleaching efficiency and filed the patent application. In the meantime, a graduate student in Buzz's lab, Sean Medine, and I participated in the regional iClub program, where we had our first dose of real customer discovery. This gave us that push to start thinking seriously about commercialization. We are both engineering microbes for efficient rare earth element recovery and purification. We realized that our inventions are too important to keep in the lab, and that they would have the best chance for real-world impact if we made that happen. So with tremendous support from Aris at CTL and many others at CREA, we dove headfirst down the entrepreneurship path. With committed support from mentors like Bob Scharf and Andrea Ippolito, we started developing our commercialization plan and founded our company Regen. Andrea convinced me to apply for the Activate Fellowship at the last minute in November, and now this summer I will become Regen's first employee as an Activate Fellow. So here I am in France, regrettably missing this incredible celebration to take what might be the last vacation in a long time. I've decided to seek out a location near and dear to my heart as a female scientist and innovator, the Marie Curie Institute. I am currently in front of the building where she made her many important discoveries and contributions to science and energy. Yet, as a female scientist in the late 1800s, early 1900s, Madame Curie faced enormous difficulties to get the resources and support she needed and to have her voice heard. Thankfully, much has changed in the past century, but unfortunately disparities still exist for women in science and engineering, and especially as entrepreneurs. Which brings me full circle to my enormous gratitude for the amazing resources and support I have been able to access at Cornell. Looking back, I can't even begin to imagine how different and how difficult this process would have been otherwise. As a woman innovator, what can make it even more difficult is the struggle to see myself as an entrepreneur because of what I'm used to seeing. This is what makes this award and the celebration so important. We need to do more to acknowledge, celebrate, and give face time to the many incredible female innovators and entrepreneurs of the world. I hardly feel like I can represent, but I am so honored to be part of this important process of changing the face of the field. Again, I am so grateful to all who have guided me this far, and am honored to represent rising women innovators at Cornell. Congratulations to all of us. We are all so essential to the innovations that continue to change our world for the better. Thank you again.
Well, one more round of applause for both of our awardees today. Before I pass it on to John Leonard for the third award for today's celebration, I want to thank Alice Lee and Lisa Placanica, the directors of CTL here in Ithaca and down at Weill Cornell, the entire staff at CTL, and everybody else who has participated and put this together. I want to thank our leadership, all of you here, but also those who are not here, for really making Cornell an excellent place for research and innovation. I think it takes a commitment all the way from the leadership to the students, the faculty and staff, and we are fortunate to be in a place like Cornell. So with no further ado, I know John is waiting there. I'd like to introduce John Leonard, a good friend of mine, and as I think I said it, but at the beginning, a partner in crime. He is officially the Senior Associate Dean for Innovation and Initiatives at Weill Cornell, who will introduce the next award category and the awardee. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Emmanuel, and it's really a pleasure to be here. I want to congratulate the two recipients that we just heard from of the Rising Women Innovator Awards. Those were really inspiring presentations, and I think it really highlights what a great opportunity it is to bring everybody together, to be at cross campuses, to hear about what's going on, to interact, and to really celebrate this important initiative and our efforts in innovation across the board. So I want to thank everybody for this opportunity. On the medical side, we really, I think, have many different opportunities to help patients, to help people, society at large. But I think I've come to learn that the innovation area is one where you can really have among the greatest impacts. I'm going to, after this meeting, go up and see a patient in my clinic, and I can spend time with that patient and help that individual with their problem. But at the end of the day, that's one person, and that's important, but it's one person. And we can publish a paper about a new treatment, a new diagnostic, and that helps a group of people if people adopt it. But at the end of the day, some of the most powerful work that we can do is to take our discoveries, to take our innovations, and to really bring them to the world at large and society. We've seen a couple of examples. We'll see another one in a minute. But to be able to impact people that you'll never even meet, never even see, and help make their lives better or their situation better, I think is a really powerful thing and something that we need to continue to foster and grow collectively. So now it is my pleasure to present the Barbara McClintock Award. And it's really a great honor to present this important award. The Barbara McClintock Award was established to celebrate Cornell Women Innovators, whose outstanding innovations have made a tangible impact in society through commercialization and new ventures, really highlighting what I just referenced. It is, as you know, named after the Nobel Prize laureate, Barbara McClintock. She was a visionary scientist and an alumna of Cornell. You heard her referenced earlier. At the time, her important work on transposons in maize was really groundbreaking, but was recognized only years after, in a large extent, when the phenomenon that she discovered was found to be universal in other systems. And I think is an example of how sometimes discoveries take time to be recognized, to be appreciated, and to come to fruition. But it's really an important goal, I think, to use this award, the Barbara McClintock Award, as a great opportunity to recognize our outstanding researchers and also to encourage women inventors who are developing pioneering research, and again, with a focus on societal impact and challenging the status quo. So it is my honor to announce the recipient for the Barbara McClintock Award, who is Sheila Nirenberg, Dr. Sheila Nirenberg. So Professor Sheila Nirenberg is the Nanette Laitman Professor of Neurology and Neuroscience. She's a professor of computational neuroscience in computational biomedicine in the Institute for Computational Biomedicine at Weill Cornell Medicine. And so please join me in viewing a video about Dr. Nirenberg and her research and the impact of her work.
People typically think of the eye as being like a camera and that the retina is just the film in the back of it. And so you're taking images and then the brain does all the hard part. But it's not really true. The retina is actually a little mini image processor. So it pulls out features from the visual world and it sends those up to the brain. And it's sort of like the building blocks for everything that you do. It pulls out features that you need for recognizing faces, for telling if somebody's attractive to you, and to maneuver through the visual environment and not crash into stuff. What people knew before I was doing this is that information in the retina, everywhere in your brain, is represented in neural electrical activity. But what does that electrical activity mean? You see these patterns of pulses. It looks like Morse code, pulse, 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 pulse. But what does it mean? Just like DNA with these strings of AGTC, and what does it mean? So that's what I did, is to understand how does an image get represented in those patterns of pulses. So you could go either way. I could see the pattern of pulses and know what you were seeing, or I could see an image and send those pattern of pulses into your brain if I wanted to treat blindness. People had worked on trying to understand the relationship before me, but they did it with very simple images like stripes or sine wave gratings. But it didn't work when you had natural scenes, when you had trees and people and babies and real life. And so what I did was understand the mathematics of making it generalized so that it worked for everything. So it wasn't just a lab experiment, it was a real life, true encoder. The epiphany moment wasn't so much on I knew how to do it. It occurred to me how to do it. Where the eureka moment was after I did it, and I realized if I have this, I have the potential to make blind people see. And then, like 3 weeks later, if I have this, I have the potential to make robots see. And so suddenly I wasn't a basic scientist, but I was an applied scientist. And so that was, that whole transition. And that led me to have to become an entrepreneur. So I built 2 companies. One's called Bionic Sight, and that's to make the treatment for blind people. And then in parallel, I started a separate company in computer vision. The computer vision company was sold recently to Intel, because Intel's so much bigger than I am, and it has so many uses so that they can develop it. Like one of the things they're using it for is for NASA, for making robots on Mars that can navigate through weird environments and not crash into each other. Also for guiding surgery, there's of course self-driving cars, detecting shoplifting, detecting emotions. And I couldn't really do all of that. So I have a wonderful partner in that way. And then I can switch my time over to focus on helping blind people, because this is the mission of our medical school, and it's more relevant to who I am as a professor. With respect to what it looks like for a patient, what the treatment is they get an injection of gene therapy. It's an optogenetic gene therapy that interacts with the device, and the device is the part that has the neural code in it. And so they wear sort of like goggles. Right now they're sort of big and clunky, but soon they will be hopefully cool goggles like Geordi on Star Trek. That's what we always say. And so far we've done 9 patients, and it's going well. Every patient has seen some level of improvement. We've only done the lower doses so far, so we're working our way up to the higher doses. The patients can see light, so we know that the gene therapy is getting in. They can see motion, they can see the direction of motion, and a little more than that, but I'm not allowed to talk about it because of FDA rules, but we're excited. A key part of this also is not being afraid of failure. So if I have an idea, I may be secretly in love with my own idea, right? And then I test it and I'm wrong. You know, you're depressed for a little while, you eat a quart of ice cream, whatever, but then you realize you test it enough times to be sure that you're wrong. Once you're sure you're wrong, then it becomes a very important fact, a constraint on your hypothesis. And then invariably it leads me to the right path. But if you fight it and you're just sort of, oh, that's just an outlier, I'll just sweep it under the rug, you'll never get there. My father was very much like this. My mother was a really great poet, not a famous poet, but she was a perfectionist, and I think it was a burden for her, even though she's a wonderfully talented person. I'm more like my father in the sense that he would screw up sometimes, but he learned from his mistakes. That's what I want to encourage women or anybody to do. Don't be afraid of failure, but pay attention to your failures. They mean something. I don't really think about all of like the glory aspects of it. It's more because there's so much work involved. So it's just day to day, trying to keep, you know, the blinders on, just focus and not daydream about the big picture at the end, but just paying attention to the patients. The patients are your partners. And so this goes back to what I was saying before about, you know, you have your hypothesis and you think the patient will see something and then they say something different from what you thought. And, you know, you listen.
So congratulations to Professor Sheila Nirenberg for the Rising Women Innovator Award. Unfortunately, Professor Nirenberg couldn't be here today. She's presenting at a conference in California. She has worked very closely with Louise Serup from the CTL at Weill Cornell Medicine team. And I know Louise has worked very closely with her, and it's been a great collaboration. And she has selected Louise to come forward and accept the award on her behalf. Very nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great work. I'm going to have you say a few words.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm delighted to accept this on behalf of Sheila. I know she's very disappointed that she can't be here in person today. We've worked very closely with Sheila at CTL for a number of years. Brian's telling me to move over. Yeah, so CTL's worked very closely with Sheila over the last few years since she first disclosed her initial invention to us and through subsequent rounds of many disclosures and many patent filings and to the setting up of her 2 companies. And so it's been tremendously exciting to see the strides that she's made in her work and to see that it come to fruition with the clinical trial that Bionic Sites running, and also the recent sale of Nirenberg Neurosciences to Intel, who are seemingly taking her technology to space, which is quite exciting. So Sheila has recorded a video to kind of accept in her own words. So I think we're going to play that now.
So I just want to say thank you so much for this award. It's really a great honor, and having Barbara McClintock's name attached to it is such a source of pride. She was a household name for all grad students and postdocs, women and men alike, for her pioneering work in pattern recognition and you know, for picking up patterns in transposons and integrating into DNA, and also as a woman, and her perseverance and her life story, it means a lot to me. So it's an honor from Cornell, and it's an honor from Barbara McClintock, and I just want to say how much I appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you. I'm now going to turn it back over to Alice and Lisa for our next part of the program.
More fun. I don't know how many of you have played with the trivia focusing on Cornell women before. And before you go out today, please drop your answer sheet to the box there. After the event, we're going to select the 3 winners based on your answer. Okay, please remember to do that. And we're going to show the answers to the trivia game, right? Can I show that? I don't know how many of you know what's the year Cornell admitted the first female student? How many of you know? Raise your hand. All right. You learned something today. All right. Can we have the answers posted? All right. Well, maybe we just highlight a couple of the questions here. Lisa, you want to?
Yes, and make sure you write your name and email on the cards when you drop them in. But I'm just going to choose my personal favorite question. So in 1898, when Cornell University Medical College was established, few medical schools accepted any women at all. But what percentage of the student body was female upon establishment of Cornell University's medical college? It was actually 9.5%, which was amazing for the time. And I think it's amazing now the continued growth of women in the medical college. In 2019, that percentage was 53%, which was the first time that there was actually more women admitted than men. So really talk about any person, any study and fulfilling Cornell's mission.
It's great to hear those of numbers these days. I'm going to mention that one other question is number 5 question. It says, in 1910, Dr. Florence Kimball was the first woman in the United States to receive Doctor of Veterinary Medicine degree from the College of Veterinary Medicine at Cornell. In addition to Dr. Kimball, how many of the first 11 women to become licensed veterinarians in the United States were Cornell grads? The number is 7. Okay, 7 out of the first 11 women of the veterinary doctors are here from Cornell. So I hope in the future, in leading innovations, that Cornell can keep such a leadership in that. Can we do that? With your help, I really hope we will be there, all right? Okay.
So now we'd like to invite John Leonard back to give closing remarks on behalf of Dean Choi.
Well, thank you very much. Dean Choi, unfortunately, at the last minute had a schedule issue and could not attend, but he asked me to say a few words on his behalf, and we miss him here today. But he's very sorry not to be able to be here. He wanted me to convey his deep congratulations to this year's award winners, Dr. Sheila Nirenberg, Grishma Gadikota, and Alexa Schmidt. They've really been doing outstanding work. I think it was inspiring what we heard from them today. They're also inspiring colleagues, trainees, they're mentors, and really leaders in the field. And it's great to hear about their work and to celebrate it today. I know that while Cornell Medicine and Cornell University are proud to have such distinguished scientists as our inaugural recipients of the Women Innovator Awards. Dean Choi also would like to thank the team at the Center for Technology Licensing and our team at Enterprise Innovation for their leadership in launching these awards, and I think putting together a great program today. So maybe we can give a round of applause to everybody involved. Especially, I think all the technology, this has worked out great, and nice to have everybody together. In particular, he'd like to acknowledge Lisa Polkanica and Alice Lee, and really also highlight the efforts of the many faculty and staff who are working so hard to strengthen our connections across the Cornell campuses in the areas of entrepreneurship, technology commercialization, and of course to increase the visibility and recognition of women in the field. We'd also like to thank the President's Council of Cornell Women, which provided a Frank H.T. Rhodes Leadership Grant that is helping to support these awards. With our partners in Ithaca, Weill Cornell Medicine is committed to cultivating the next generation of leaders in innovation and to promoting women's engagement in innovation and commercialization. And I think it's particularly striking that what we talked about today has really brought together 2 major focus areas at the campus in Ithaca at the university level, and also at Weill Cornell Medicine and for Dean Choi in particular. Entrepreneurship has been an institutional priority since our previous dean, Dr. Laurie Glimsher, herself a company founder and an advocate for the power of partnerships with between academia and industry, really got us going in some ways at the medical campus in this area. Dean Choi also has his own startup that he's been involved with, and the fact that we've focused a lot of attention and effort and resources into this area, and this will continue in the coming months and years, is really a highlight to the importance of this area at this campus. These include the 5th Annual Dean Symposium on Entrepreneurship and Academic Drug Development, which was held last year. And this fall, we're expanding the program to include more activities and talks. And the fact that I'm here as Senior Associate Dean for Innovation and Initiatives, and we've established Enterprise Innovation as our umbrella organization at this campus for this area under Dean Choi's leadership, really indicates the importance placed on technology development by our team here. And we, of course, are working very closely with colleagues in Ithaca and Emmanuel Gianellis and Alice Lee in particular in streamlining the process to bring our technologies forward and to best support our faculty. Weill Cornell Medicine also has an important tradition of diversity, which is an aspect of what we're talking about here today as well. It's been a leader in the education of women since its founding. It's long supported underrepresented students through initiatives like the flagship Traveler Summer Research Fellowship Program. And we have been joining institutions around the country in intensifying our efforts to achieve greater equity, diversity, and inclusion for both our patients and our own communities. Today's celebration is really, I think, an important milestone for the innovation community at Cornell University and at Weill Cornell Medicine. And we continue to strive to promote greater gender equity within biomedical science, healthcare, and innovation. Currently at this campus, women make up the majority of medical and graduate students at Weill Cornell Medicine. They represent 57% of our population of students. The number of highest leadership positions has increased by 75% over the last 5 years. But we know that female representation in patenting, commercialization has historically been lower in women than for men. We heard about that earlier, and there's clearly much more we can do to achieve gender balance and also greater representation amongst other groups as well. But today's event is really an important step in the right direction, and we look forward to many more events and initiatives to bring this effort to further fruition. So I want to end by thanking you all for being here today. It's been a great event, for all you're doing to advance biomedical science, improve the care we provide for patients, and obviously to benefit our society and to provide a more inclusive and equitable world. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, John. Thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed the day. As we draw a conclusion to today's event, we hope that this is the beginning of a new phase of growth for women leaders in innovation and entrepreneurship here at Cornell. We are here to support you and help you reach your goals. So please do reach out and work with us.
All right. We want to thank you today for coming and celebrating with us. Especially, we also want to thank the nominators. You heard from Emmanuel, there were 32 nominations, and for those people who promoted the women inventors around us, it's people who like that inspire and nurture the future generations of innovators and entrepreneurs and leaders. And we thank you all for that. All right, finally, I also want to thank the team at CTL, particularly the technology, initiative, and outreach teams, and namely Linda Insek, Chris Valentine Benke, and also Victoria Talavera. It's the three of them who make this happen. I want us to give the round of applause, but make this happening for us. With that, we conclude the event and thank you all. We hope to see you again in the future.